Hello, it is Wednesday, October the 3rd, the year 2012, and as usual, a lot to get to in the sports world, sports fans, so let's get it going right now. First, let's clean up all the baseball. This is the last day, believe it or not, of the regular season in baseball, and still things need to be decided. National League pretty much set. You're going to have Washington, Cincinnati, San Francisco as your division winners. Atlanta and St. Louis will play in the wild card game. Washington and Cincinnati fighting for home field, so that's still up in the air. Dodgers eliminated last night. American League, a little more muddled. You have the Yankees right now as the best record in the American League, which is amazing considering how they struggled the last month or two. Baltimore one game back. The Yankees had the huge comeback win against the Red Sox last night. Ibanez just a tremendous home run in the ninth inning to tie that up. Yankees win in extra innings. Baltimore keeps pace. They're a game back. They beat Tampa 1-0 on the Davis bomb of a home run. I mean, take a look at that home run if you can. What a bomb to center field. Then you have Texas and Oakland. They are tied for the division with one game to play this afternoon in Oakland at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. That's an afternoon game, so make sure you catch that. It's not a night game. Oakland won the first two games of the series, and unbelievably, for the first time since March, Texas is not in first place by themselves, so what a great job by Oakland. They not only make the playoffs, they are tied with Texas. So the winner today wins the division. The loser goes to the wild card game, so a big, big game today out in Oakland. Detroit is your other division winner. They're in. White Sox out. Cabrera looks like he's going to win the Triple Crown, which is just amazing. Baltimore, Baltimore and the Yankees are going to be the other wild card. Right now it's Baltimore. They're a game back. And the other wild card, the second wild card, will be the Oakland and Texas, the loser of that game. And remember, Baltimore, if they should win and the Yankees lose today, one-game playoff tomorrow for the division, and Baltimore has the home field in that, so that will be at Camden Yards. So very interesting day in baseball today. Whoever didn't like the second wild card, I mean, you guys were way off base. The second wild card has caused all sorts of excitement and drama here on the last day of the season. So look for all the baseball and make sure you watch that Oakland-Texas game. That's an afternoon game, so don't miss it. Very important game. All right, let's move over to the college football. We got some college football. We got some picks coming up. Let's go to all the games here. Like I said, college football not off to a great start this year. Nothing great going on. There hasn't been too many must-watch games. Last week was pretty much unwatchable. There was very few must-watch games and very few good games at all. Anyway, let's get to the games. Thursday night schedule, East Carolina, Central Florida, Arkansas State, Florida International. I mean, come on. USC at Utah. I mean, the bloom is off the rose with USC after they lost to Stanford, and then Stanford followed up that win with a loss to Washington. Bloom totally off the rose for USC, so you can't get too excited about that. Friday games, I mean, they're never too exciting. You have Pitt at Syracuse, and then you have Utah State at BYU. It seems like BYU is on every Friday. I mean, that stadium is very picturesque. I love the mountains in the back, but I can't get too excited about Utah and BYU on a Friday night. I just can't, and I'm a big college football lover. All right, let's get into some of the games on Saturday. We have a nice little menu. There are some really decent games. There's 3 games that you guys have to watch. All right, let's go to the first game. Northwestern at Penn State. Very interesting game. Northwestern is undefeated. Believe it or not, Northwestern is undefeated. Penn State has played a lot better the last few weeks. I mean, considering the mess out there in Penn State, they have regrouped. They have played a lot better. I mean, eventually things are going to get worse before they get, really good for Penn State. I mean, once they get into the meat of the Big Ten schedule, I mean, the Big Ten isn't great. Penn State's going to struggle, and they're going to struggle for years to come. This game is interesting, though. Northwestern is the undefeated team. Penn State's home. Penn State's favored. Very, very strange game. I actually think Penn State's going to win this game at home. I mean, I don't know why. I just have that feeling Penn State's going to win at home. I think their defense is going to smother Northwestern. I think Penn State knocks Northwestern out of the unbeaten ranks. Connecticut at Rutgers. I mean, normally I wouldn't bring this game up. Rutgers is undefeated, and if you look at their schedule, they have a real chance of going undefeated the whole season. The Big East is weak to begin with, and I don't want to take that away from Rutgers. They have a good team, good defense. They've taken care of business. They have a chance to go undefeated this year. I think they beat UConn this week. Florida State at North Carolina State. I mean, Florida State is obviously the much better team. NC State just lost to Miami last week. They gave a bunch of yards and a bunch of points to Miami, and Florida State's much better than Miami. I would keep an eye on it because if big teams lose, it's usually on the road, and NC State has played Florida State well in the past. Do I expect them to pull off the upset here? No, but I do expect a wild atmosphere in Raleigh. The fans there are really, really good. Even for football, they're tremendous in basketball, as we know. They're good for football as well. Look for, an exciting atmosphere. I think Florida State wins. Keep an eye on it, though. Washington and Oregon. Washington with the big win last week against Stanford. Oregon scores 1,000,000 points. Oregon is just going to be too much for Washington at home in Eugene. Even though that stadium in Eugene is a smaller stadium, it's one of the loudest stadiums. I mean, the noise it sits right in the middle of the field, and it just feels like, there's like 100,000 people in that stadium. So Oregon, I expect to lay the wood on Washington this week. Okay, let's get into some other games. Oklahoma at Texas Tech. Very strange game. Oklahoma for the last 2 years has not looked great. They have a loss already this year. Texas Tech is the one that's undefeated. They're home. Texas Tech actually went to Norman last year and beat Oklahoma, which started this whole spiral, this downhill spiral for Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't been the same since. So a reversal in roles here. Texas Tech is undefeated. Oklahoma with a loss. I don't know what to make of this game. I would think Oklahoma would be able to go into Lubbock and handle Texas Tech, but who knows? Oklahoma has struggled with everyone this year, including UTEP. So I don't know what to make of that game. If I had to give a pick, I would take Oklahoma. Moving on, Nebraska at Ohio State. Nebraska, the big comeback win against Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not a great team. Ohio State, nice win last week at Michigan State. Ohio State is undefeated. They're home. I think they will win this game. Hard to get too excited about Ohio State because they can't go anywhere this year because of the whole probation thing. But they do have a nice team. Urban Meyer's going to, he's going to turn it around real quick. Look for Ohio State next year to have a big season. I think they'll take care of business here in Columbus. So look for Ohio State to beat, Nebraska. One other game I want to just throw a bone to Duke. Duke is having a nice season. I have a friend that lives in Durham. He says, I never talk Duke football. We know Duke's a basketball school. There's usually very little to talk about with Duke football. They are doing a nice job this year, but having said that, the one tough game they played, they did lose to Stanford. They have a winnable game this week against Virginia. They are home, so a little nugget for Duke. They are doing a much better job. A little down year for Virginia as well. I haven't been impressed with them. I do like the coach. They had a nice year last year. A little bit of a down year for them. All right, let's get into the picks and the 3 games I really wanted to get into. Let's get to the 3 games that I want to get into first. West Virginia at Texas. This is a goodie. 7 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday. This is a really nice game. I mean, Texas, the big win last week at Oklahoma State, controversial. Looked like Texas fumbled as they were going in for the winning score. They reviewed it. They couldn't reverse it. I thought Texas fumbled. Refs said no, he couldn't, didn't have a good angle on it. Let the play stand. Texas scores. Texas holds on and wins. Nice road win at Oklahoma State. Texas stays undefeated. West Virginia undefeated. We know West Virginia can score with anyone. They put up 1,000,000 points last week against Baylor. Problem with West Virginia is, as good as their offense is, their defense is bad. Their defense just got shredded by Baylor last week. They can't stop anyone. I think the difference in this game will be Texas at home will at least get a few stops, where West Virginia on the road will not get any stops. I think Texas will score a lot of points here. They'll stop West Virginia a couple times. West Virginia is going to get their points, believe me. Texas will do just enough on defense. They'll score all day on offense. They are home. They're coming off a big win. I think Texas at home in Austin gets the W here. Let's move on. 7 o'clock again. Georgia at South Carolina. That's 7 o'clock Eastern time. Georgia at South Carolina in Columbia. Another juicy, juicy game. I mean, these are 2 powerhouses this year. The SEC, you got to love this game. I mean, the Gamecocks coming out of the tunnel with the 2001 Space Odyssey theme. Just a great scene. Make sure you see that. Make sure you're there before kickoff of this game. Great atmosphere in Columbia at all times. This is a very interesting game. Georgia struggled last week. They didn't look great. They struggled for much of the game. South Carolina, they struggled as well with Kentucky before, pulling away at the end with them. I think South Carolina at home is going to have just enough to edge Georgia in this game. I think this game is very close. I think it could go either way. I think South Carolina being at home, just enough, a field goal, just enough to edge Georgia. Like I said, juicy game, could go either way. I like South Carolina's defense. I like them at home. I like the running back. I think that'll be enough to just put them over the edge. And Georgia always seems to have one bad game on the road every year. They just seem to have that one bad game that just ruins their whole season. This could be that game, but it's a very juicy game. Now, the game I'm really looking for, oh, one more game before I get to the game that I think is a must-watch for everyone. Miami at Notre Dame. I wanted to touch on this game. Miami is 4-1. Notre Dame undefeated. Game at Soldier Field, 7:30 Eastern Time. You know, this is this is a blast from the past game. 20 years ago, this was the game. Miami is 4-1. They're not that great. Kansas State just demolished them. Miami's beaten a lot of bad teams. I would expect Notre Dame to handle business, but it's good to see these two teams playing again, and both of them have decent records, so I wanted to mention that game as well. The must-watch game, 3:30 Eastern Time, CBS, LSU at Florida in the Swamp. Please do not miss this game. This is the SEC at its best. Tremendous atmosphere in Florida. You have LSU coming in. LSU has not looked great this year. They barely beat Auburn. They played sloppy against Townsend. They haven't looked great. They had one good performance against Washington. Now, are they saving it all for this game? Are they going to bust out this week? Florida's been very surprising this year. They went on the road and beat Texas A&M, who's a good team. They went on the road and beat an improved Tennessee team. I've been impressed with Florida this year. I think they are surprised this year. LSU, 3-point favorite on the road. I'll tell you, I like Florida with the points at home. LSU has not shown me they can do it this year. They were lucky to beat Auburn, and Auburn is not playing well this year. I like Florida in this game. Now, LSU could definitely come up with a great performance here. Forget about who's going to win and lose. Just watch this game and enjoy it. The atmosphere, like I said, college football goes so quick. You have to really cherish these type of games, and this is a game you want to watch. I know it's a Saturday afternoon. I don't know how the weather's going to be where you are. I know you like to do things on the weekend. Please watch this game or tape it, DVR it, something. It's a must-watch. This is a college football fan's dream, this game. LSU at Florida. Make sure you watch it. I implore you. All right, let's go to the picks. Last week I had a great week picking the games. You know what happens every once in a while where I actually pick most of the games right. This week I have a few games for you. I'm going to start with the military. Air Force, -10 over Navy at Air Force. We start the whole Commander-in-Chief run. Navy, not good this year, 1-3. They get shut out by San Jose State at home. San Jose State is improved, but Navy, 1-3 this year, not looking great. And they go to Air Force. Air Force, 2-2. They played Michigan tough. Air Force always seems to win the Commander-in-Chief trophy. They always seem to be the best of the three teams. Navy and Army don't look great this year. I'll tell you, the Navy-Army game this year, I mean, that's not going to be a great game as far as record-wise. I mean, it's always a great game with the pageantry and all that, and you can throw the records out, but those two teams are not going to have great records. But anyway, I'm off track a little bit. I think Air Force takes care of business. They're home. I lay the 10 here. I think Air Force beats Navy handily. Air Force, -10 over Navy at Air Force. Moving on, Clemson at home, -10 over Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, another rough go this year for them. I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. They've looked terrible. They lost to Middle Tennessee State at home last week. Clemson had the tough loss to Florida State 2 weeks ago. They bounced back. They beat Boston College last week. Clemson comes home. They're healthy. They're going to score a lot of points in this game. Georgia Tech is not going to win this game. They've lost 3 in a row. Make it 4 here. Clemson, -10 over Georgia Tech at Death Valley in Clemson. Okay, let's move on. Oregon State at home, -14 over Washington State. I love Oregon State in this game. Oregon State is 3-0. They're one of the surprise teams of the year. They've beaten Wisconsin, at home. Then they went to UCLA, beat them. Then they went to Arizona, beat them. Washington State, on the other hand, lost to Colorado at home. And we know Colorado is awful. They lost to Sacramento State. Oregon State will just demolish Washington State here. I look for Oregon State big over Washington State. That's pick number 3. Pick number 4. I like Louisiana Lafayette at home, -24 over Tulane. Tulane until they show me they can hang in any of these games, I mean, I'm going to keep picking against them. I keep picking against them. I keep winning. I'm going to do the same thing here. Tulane is an awful football team. I mean, they looked terrible last week. Louisiana Lafayette at home, -24 over Tulane. Final pick of the week, Auburn on the Plains in Alabama at home, -10 over Arkansas. I'm going to take Auburn here. I know Auburn is not great. I know they've lost a bunch of games already. But this is more about anti-Arkansas. Arkansas has mailed in the season. They lost to Louisiana Monroe at home. They got demolished by Alabama 52-0. They lost to Rutgers at home. And last week they lost to Texas A&M 58-10. Until Arkansas shows me they have a pulse, I am going to pick against them. I know Auburn's not great, but they did play LSU tough. I think they have enough here to beat Arkansas and to cover the spread. Auburn, -10 over Arkansas. So, once again, the picks. Air Force, -10 over Navy. Clemson, -10 over Georgia Tech. Auburn, -10 over Arkansas. Oregon State, -14 over Washington State. Louisiana Lafayette, -24 over Tulane. Those are the picks for college football this week. And please, fans, please, I'm begging you, watch LSU Florida. Definitely watch Georgia, South Carolina, and keep an eye on that West Virginia-Texas game, as well as some of the other games. Keep an eye on the baseball. I will talk to you guys on Monday. We'll do all the wrap-up of the baseball, the college football. We're going to break down all the NFL, it should be another wild and woolly weekend this week, all across the board. You guys stay safe. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.